Ancora. Will Sven van Marg, the newly elected president of the Undergraduate Student Council for 2013-2014, please come forward and accept custody of the mace. Elected. He doesn't know how it works yet. Good morning, please be seated. My name is Marc Montéa, the Vice President and Dean of Student Affairs, and I will be serving today as the Master of Ceremonies for this year's graduation ceremony. AUP graduating students, families, friends, alumni, and distinguished guests, good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the commencement exercise of the graduating class of 2013. Indeed, the 50th anniversary commencement exercise of the American University of Paris, in the ever sunny Paris. Chers futurs diplômés, chers parents, chers amis, chers anciens élèves, chers invités, bonjour. J'ai le plaisir de vous souhaiter la bienvenue à la cérémonie de remise des diplômes de la classe 2013, qui est aussi la remise des diplômes de l'année du 50e anniversaire de notre institution. I now call Neil Gordon, Dean of the University, to give his address to the class of 2013.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming today to the 50th anniversary graduation ceremony for the class of 2013 at the American University of Paris. Welcome, all of you, and thank you. We're here to celebrate the accomplishment of our graduating seniors and our MA students and to congratulate them on all they've achieved to get here today. And most of what we have to say today is in fact directed toward our graduates. But nonetheless, I'd like to start, if I may, by speaking not to our graduates, but rather to those members of our audience who have worked so hard over the past 4 years to bring our graduates to this huge triumph in their lives. That is, our parents and faculty members who have come from all over the world, and family members who have come from all over the world to be here today, and our faculty and staff who have worked so tirelessly on behalf of our students. Graduates, may I ask you to rise and remain standing? Thank you. Now, parents, family, friends, faculty, staff, please join me in congratulating the 2013 graduates of the American University of Paris. Graduates, please remain standing. Next, may I address myself to our graduates themselves, the young people who are here today to celebrate. And may I suggest to you that you too have congratulations to offer and thanks to your parents, your grandparents, your family members who have made it possible for you to have this set of adventures you have had here in Paris by sending you, or helping to send you, or supporting you in going to the university. And may I suggest that these people now deserve a hand from you. Graduates. Thank you. Graduates, you may be seated now. And finally, to the graduates and their families, may I ask you to reflect for a moment on the group of people who, perhaps second only to yourselves, have devoted themselves to this moment with unparalleled dedication, integrity, and passion. That is, the faculty and staff of the American University of Paris, a faculty and staff, I would suggest, as expert and dedicated as you will find anywhere in the world. Graduates, families, and friends, may I ask you to join me in thanking this fantastic faculty and the superb staff for all they have done to bring us here today. Well done, thank you. Now, for my part, at this time of year, I find myself thinking very hard about how to express to you my deep sense of the importance of this moment in your lives. And as I have done so, I've had to negotiate carefully between, on one hand, the external truth of our lives in the midst of a corrosive economic meltdown in a world less secure, possibly, than it has ever been before, and on the other hand, the intense sense of hope I and my colleagues have for you all. You have all received simply too good an education to believe anything simple about the world that is ahead of you. You have studied political science with professors who work on the intractable injustices of our world, with historians who have explored with you the complex history of our contemporary global reality, with economists and finance professors who have studied with you the profound challenges of our global economy. And you've studied with philosophers, writers, artists, critics, scholars who have explored with you the many and manifold societal, political, interpersonal, and existential challenges of simply being human in this contemporary world. So it's very hard to say anything simple to you today as you go through one of the epic changes in your own lives, the change from being a student to being an actor in a world that is perhaps more complex than it has ever been before. Some of you have been at the American University of Paris for your undergraduate education, your first preparation for the life of adults before you. Others of you have come to us as adults, seeking a graduate education better to equip yourselves for lives of adults that you are already leading. All of you now stand before futures in a world of immense complexity and huge challenges, and none of you, I think, can feel entirely free of anxiety as you think of your path ahead as you leave us now to go out into a world of environmental turmoil, economic challenge, and political stress. I do not wish to tell you that you should not feel this anxiety, but I do wish to say that this anxiety will be for you the motivating force for lives that will engage these problems in profound and new ways, and none of us today, none of us can say where that engagement will lead. It is today over 30 years since I myself graduated from college, and the past 30 years since my graduation contain some of the most disastrous moments in our country and our world's history. Then, like now, we graduated into a world of growing danger for which we could see no solutions, and yes, those dangers never diminished. But neither, and this is what I want to emphasize, neither did there diminish a series of totally unexpected solutions. I think of the dismantling of the Berlin Wall, or the Velvet Revolution, or the Peace and Reconciliation Commissions in South Africa. 30 years ago at my own graduation, we never would have dreamed of such dramatic and progressive acts of history that brought such deep and abiding change for so many millions of people. And the fact is that now when in so many ways the world appears at an impasse, even now, I suggest to you that none of us can predict what dramatic instances of hope are going to come to us next, or how you, as actors in this world, are going to participate in them. And that is my wish for you, the young people of the American University of Paris's graduating class of 2013. My wish is that every once in a while, as you find your way out of the university and into your lives, whatever you're doing, whatever the complexity of this world, you will also be alive to the fact that new paradigms and new modes of thinking are ever possible and constantly coming into play. New paradigms of action in the political, in the environmental, in the economic, that you will seek in every possible way, to let these new paradigms, rather than the reality that is handed to you, be the central path of your lives ahead. And I know that I speak for each and every one of my colleagues, all of us here at the American University of Paris, professors, administrators, staff, board of trustees, who have had the honor to know you and teach you and learn from you these past years, each and every one of us, when I say that we know there is a world waiting for you of small pleasures and great triumphs, of profound engagements and dramatic love, of challenges and opportunities and the deep adventure of being human, and we know that there is nowhere in this, and we know that nowhere in this world is a group of young people better qualified to go out and take on this world than you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. The American University of Paris has a tradition of honoring those students, faculty members, staff members, and distinguished individuals whose performances have been exceptional and whose contributions to the university deserve special recognition. Every year at graduation, we begin with an awards ceremony to honor special achievements in the areas of scholarship, teaching, research, and service to the institution. I now call Dr. Judith Ogilvie, AUP's Chair of the Board of Trustees.
Good morning, everybody. What a wonderful day. It is the wish of the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris to recognize annually the graduating senior who exemplifies truly outstanding achievement and who, by inspiring admiration for academic excellence, has made a significant contribution to the life of the university. The Board of Trustees Valedictorian Award for Outstanding Scholastic Achievement for undergraduate students goes to Frederick Ford Leland, who achieved a cumulative GPA of 4.0 out of 4.0, the highest in the class. Congratulations. Would you please come forward if you're here? Is Ford here? Oh, great. Fantastic. Now, the Board of Trustees Valedictorian Award for Outstanding Scholastic Achievement for graduate students goes to Amanda Rochelle Tush and Jessica Proett, who both achieved a cumulative GPA of 4.0 out of 4.0, the highest in the class. Congratulations to you as well. I believe that Jessica might be with us, but also that Amanda may not be. If Jessica is here, could you please come forward? Now it is also my pleasure and honor to present the Sin-Ming Shaw Award. And this award is also presented annually. And for many years, the generosity of former trustee Sin-Ming Shaw, and also actually my classmate when I was here back in the day, his generosity has permitted the faculty to identify and reward a student who has produced a significant piece of scholarship. After having the pleasure of considering many accomplished works across a variety of disciplines, the Sin-Ming Shaw Committee is pleased to award first honorable mention to Elizabeth Melton for her well-crafted and cogently argued paper, The Old New Man in Nature, Reconstructing the Paradox of Die Brucke's New Man. Congratulations to Elizabeth. And the committee is further delighted to name Lucille Culver as the winner of this year's prize for her paper, Deconstructing, D is in parentheses here, Deconstructing Knighthood, an examination of the spatiality of chivalry in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and the Romance of Tristan. The breadth of her thought and the originality of her contribution to medieval understandings of space were most impressive. If Lucille could come forward, that would be great. Now, after these wonderful student accomplishments, we want to also recognize the faculty and their significant contributions and accomplishments as well. So first, it is the wish of the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris to honor each year a professor whose performance in the classroom is exemplary. AUP professors evince the highest possible commitment to the art of teaching and to its central role in a liberal arts education. The nominees this year were Christine Baltai, Peter Barnett, Kathleen Chevalier, Waddick Doyle, Jeff Gilbert, Jeff Green, Dan Gunn, Peter Hagel, Mehdi Majidi, Fuad May, Ali Ranama, Roy Rosenstein, Steve Sawyer, and Bill Stewart, all wonderful teachers. This year, the Board of Trustees Award for Distinguished Teaching for 2012-2013 goes to Professor Peter Barnett. In the words of one of the students who nominated him for this award, Professor Barnett has not only had a distinguished career as a professional in the field of branding and communications, which gives him both the expertise and authority on the subject, but is also a gifted teacher who manages to engage directly with his students. Every single student actually looks forward to going to class and completing the assignments because they gain hands-on experience that prepares them for their professional careers. Consistently nominated for this award, Peter's classes are often described as the most meaningful and most enjoyable courses taken by undergraduate and graduate students alike. Students appreciate his enthusiasm and professional experience, and they believe that he has set a high standard for practical courses at AUP. Congratulations, Professor Barnett. Thank you for upholding these values. It is also the pleasure of the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris to honor outstanding faculty achievement in the areas of curricular innovation, interdisciplinary programs, and research and publication. I will call the three award winners at the same time after lauding their work. The nominees this year were Ruth Coran, Oliver Feltham, Claudio Piani, and Daniel Medin. The award for Outstanding research and publication goes to Oliver Feltham. Dr. Feltham, sorry, I don't want to step on your applause, it's well deserved. Dr. Feltham's recent publications highlight the exceptional and impressive diversity of his work. Articles ranging from what is contemporaneity in theater, atomism versus atavism, action and access to the absolute in Moby Dick, and the school and the act. Of his recent work, the most outstanding publication of this past year would unquestionably be his book, Anatomy of Failure, Philosophy and Political Action. The award for innovation in curricular development goes to Oliver Feltham. Maybe you've gotten back to your seat, maybe not, I don't know. Dr. Feltham. Dr. Feltham has brought life back to the philosophy program at AUP. Starting this coming year, thanks to his work and dedication, AUP will finally and proudly be offering a major in philosophy. And beyond the work to redevise the philosophy major, Dr. Feltham has been very busy. He's been working also on with the Graduate Review Board on the creation of a new MA degree in climate policy, which is projected to launch in 2014. So congratulations again, Dr. Feltham. The award for innovation in interdisciplinary studies goes to two professors. It goes to Ruth Corin and Claudia Piani. Dr. Corin's and Dr. Piani's collaborative work in the Department of Math Science and Computer Science has contributed greatly to the creation, implementation, and promotion of AUP's newly approved minor in environmental science, as well as a new major in quantitative environmental science. The new QES major directly addresses our present-day environmental crises by setting a course of study that creates necessary links between environmental sciences, mathematics, and a variety of other disciplines. Drs. Corin and Piani have, through collaboration with colleagues in a variety of disciplines, articulated a variety of options and tracks within this major to allow students freedom to develop distinct levels of specialization and expertise as part of this newly devised curriculum. So, both here, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ogilvie. I now call on Dr. Cella Shank, President of the American University of Paris.
I have the honor of presenting the Staff Award for Distinguished Service 2013, for which there were 11 meritorious nominees. This year it goes to Benoit Corbin, AUP's Corporate Relations and Outreach Manager. Benoit, come up, Benoit, wherever you are. He's managing this event. Benoit has been on loan this year from the President's Office to the 50th anniversary team, and in that role has supported the mission of this university with distinction and devotion. Masterminding all of the major university-wide events of this year, from convocation to the October reception at the U.S. Ambassador's residence, from the boat party on Friday night, where we put 550 people on that boat, to the Shangri-La Gala on Saturday night, Benoit has brought his characteristic meticulousness and elegance to each event, making AUP look ever grander. And as a Francophone and a Parisian, he has opened corporate and media doors to which AUP has heretofore not had access, bringing in major donations and sponsorship for Global Alumni Weekend and the Gala. Everything he does is with grace, good taste, integrity, and that French je ne sais quoi that renders all he touches beautiful. In addition, his soft-spoken manner, kindness to others, proactive nature, and bienveillance have endeared him to us all. Thank you, Benoit, for being our most valuable player this special anniversary year. The Distinguished Alumnus Award for 2013 goes to Tamer Saeed Salman. May I call to the podium his brother Abdullah Salman and his best friend and roommate at AUP, Sultan Al-Qasimi, to receive the award on his behalf. AUP alumnus Tamer Salman, who passed away prematurely this year at the age of 35, was the CEO, the president of Ajman University of Science and Technology, the first private university in the United Arab Emirates founded in 1988. Having left us regrettably early, Tamer Salman nonetheless lived a life of considerable achievement. He was a devoted citizen of the UAE, a successful entrepreneur, passionate educator, and a generous philanthropist. He was also a principled, wise, just, and kind man, loyal in friendship, steadfast in family relationships, dedicated to the education of Emirati youth. I had the pleasure of meeting Tamer several times over the past year, visiting his university and the state-of-the-art K-12 IB school he founded in Ajman. We had a great deal in common as educators, and I had hoped he would join our board. I am so sorry that this did not come to pass, and that we, his own university, his own country, and his own family, will have to learn to live without him. During the years he presided over AUST's expansion, the institution grew and flourished, gained multiple accreditations, and established a curriculum to educate rising Emirati young managers and professionals. The university functions on the American model with a mission of producing the future entrepreneurs, journalists, teachers, engineers, pharmacists, nurses, dentists, and business and financial managers who will contribute to the transformation in the UAE. Tamer Salman was also instrumental in establishing scholarships to support needy students. It is my pleasure to announce that thanks to the generosity of an anonymous alumnus from the UAE, the AUP Student Media Center in the new Student Life and Learning Center we hope to acquire in the coming year will be named for Tamer. As president of the American University of Paris, I am very proud to claim Tamer as one of our own and to recognize posthumously his distinguished contributions to education. Thank you. finally, it is my honor to present the Presidential Medal of Distinguished Achievement to Daniel Sokolow, AUP's 4th president. Will you join me at the podium, Dan? Dr. Sokolow presided over the university's 25th commencement, half its life ago, just a year or two before I arrived in Paris. His tenure here was a difficult one. He landed at the very moment when the university was becoming legally and fiscally French, something we haven't quite fully completed. One of the several great architects of our future, he legalized and regularized the institution's status in France, as well as the status and benefits of faculty and staff. He created the American University of Paris Foundation, galvanized fundraising, strengthened the academic program, gave attention to continuing and adult education, extended the physical plant, prepared for the shift from ACP to AUP, from college to university, built a new board with Pierre Salinger, the famous chair of his board, introduced caps and gowns at AUP graduations, began the tradition of giving honorary degrees, and received one of the first the university ever offered. He acknowledges that he couldn't have done it without his stellar principal dean, Charlotte Lacaze, whom I'm going to ask to stand. Stand. She's professor of art history emerita. Dan Sokolow has remained a friend of the university and has drawn especially close in recent years, for which mentorship and support I personally am deeply grateful. Dr. Sokolow held for 15 years after AUP what many would call the best job in the world. If you don't think leading AUP is the best job in the world, which it is. From 1997 to 2013, he was director of the MacArthur Fellows Program, known in the US as the Genius Awards, from which position he gave out 400 Genius Awards, half of those awarded to date in the program's entire 34-year history. For those in the audience who are not familiar with these prestigious grants, Genius Awards have been given to people as young as 18 and as old as 80. They go to US citizens from any field and come with no strings attached. The fellowship is not a reward for past accomplishment, but an investment in a person's originality, insight, and potential. You can't apply for it either, so the award is always a surprise. During his tenure, people found out they were geniuses when they got the call from Dan Sokolow saying, "Congratulations, you've just won $500,000 to be creative, original, and for the next year at least, to be at liberty to explore, research, craft, write, farm, sculpt, paint, develop new models, organize communities, etc." Educated at the University of Wisconsin, Harvard University, and the University of Chicago, Dan Sokolow changed the course of the American College in Paris, prepared for the birth of the American University of Paris, and participates today in the university's flourishing. Thank you, Dan, for being such an important part of our history and our future.
Thank you, Madam President. I now call on Eileen Weinstein and Patrick McDermott, this year's presidents of the Graduate Student Council and the Undergraduate Student Council, to present the Student Government Awards. First, Patrick McDermott.
Thank you. Family, friends, distinguished guests, members of the board, faculty and staff, and fellow graduates. On this day of celebration, it gives me great pleasure to announce the 4 recipients of the Student-to-Student Scholarships and present the Undergraduate Student Council Awards to 4 outstanding members of our community. The Student-to-Student Scholarship is a grant given to deserving undergraduate students, selected by a Student Council Awards Committee. Applicants were asked to submit an essay imagining what students can do to increase student involvement at AUP. It is the graduating class's hope that the winners of this award will use their remaining years at AUP to implement their ideas. Recipients, please rise when your name is called. Manon Carrier. Lan Can Luang. Elizabeth Marshall. And Sven Van Maurik. Congratulations. Now, the Undergraduate Student Council would like to show its appreciation to outstanding members of our community in categories of faculty member, staff member, and student community service. Our first award goes to an outstanding faculty member, and the Student Council has selected Professor Kirsten Carlson. Please join us on stage. Professor Carlson is a favorite to many in the politics department. Students have often raved about her dynamic teaching skills, source of knowledge, and enthusiasm for the subject matter. She makes herself widely accessible to students and goes beyond the classroom to serve the AUP community, such as hosting a conference on the current issues in Bosnia and Herzegovina and staging an internal mock trial court. Here's your award. Congratulations. Thanks very much. Our next award goes to an outstanding administrative staff member, and the Student Council has selected Kevin Ford. Kevin is the Student Council's advisor. He came to enough meetings to where he deeply understood where the Student Council was and where we wanted to go. He was quick to offer advice, and yet he was also quick to step back and allow us to try to find our own way. He was not a minder, he was more like a coach. Thank you very much. The 50th anniversary school year came with special challenges, and we were very fortunate to have two outstanding students who rose to meet some of those challenges. Kenfor Leland and Togzan Kumbeyakavak, please come to stage. Ford completely reinvented the culture of student media at AUP. Through his untiring drive for excellence, he has created a new standard. Togzan, also known as Toki, took ownership of the organization for this evening's graduation gala, and I fully trust that it will be nothing short of magnificent. I hope to see you all there tonight. Please give these two a round of applause. And now, for my final official act as the Undergraduate Student Council President, I would like to recognize all of the parents, family members, and mentors in the audience for all of your wonderful efforts in creating a fantastic class of 2013. Thank you, good luck, and goodbye.
Fellow students, parents, faculty, staff, members of the board, distinguished guests, Madam President. I'm honored today to present awards on behalf of the Graduate Student Council. I promise to be brief, but first I would like to say what an honor it is to share the stage with our two honorary degree award recipients, the Honorable Louise Arbour and Dr. Martha Nussbaum, whose courageous and passionate careers are an encouragement and pride to us all. It is also filled with a bit of irony. When I graduated from college, the mother of one of my best friends in high school gave me a book to mark the occasion. Based on its weight and form, the fact that it was a book was not hard to figure out. And given my interests, a book was a wonderfully fitting gift. When I opened up the wrapping, I was faced with Martha Nussbaum's Upheavals of Thought, The Intelligence of Emotions. A topic that fundamentally spoke to me, but I must admit, a few pages in, I did start to have some doubts about just how much of an intellectual I really was, and if this was considered summer reading. Many years later, and without fully having resolved the existential question of what are the limits of reading for pleasure, I stand before you and my fellow grad students to celebrate the accomplishment of an MA degree. It has been quite a ride, filled with decisions, doubt, new decisions, and hard work. The only thing we know for sure is that this is just a model for what happens next. On that note, I would like to thank my dedicated GSE team, whose careful planning, good conversation, and initiative has made the GSE a pleasure this year. Dave Bloom, Shola Farber, and Karen Johnson. Now it is time to present the GSE Awards, which were decided based on nominations from master's students. The GSE Award for Community Service goes to Ryan McCarthy. In his In his letter of nomination, he was described as kind, patient, and incredibly knowledgeable. Ryan is an ideal tutor. Therefore, it is not surprising that many students specifically seek his help, attesting to his dedication to helping them become better writers, a skill that is difficult to learn and yet so vital to succeed as a graduate student. Next, I'd like to congratulate the winners of the Faculty Prize for 2013. We have two. This year, the award goes to Cynthia Fleury for her masterful ability to make political philosophy come alive. She's not here. And Mehdi Majidi for his warmth, support, and dedication to good teaching. Finally, the GSE Staff Award goes to Zendine Chena, who works reception in Combs and Buski, and who, while getting a master's degree of his own, is always helpful and ready with a smile. Congratulations to our award winners and all AUP graduates.
What a privilege it is for me to preside over the 50th anniversary of the American University of Paris. In this great theater, all the constituencies of our university, students, graduating students, parents, alumni, faculty, emeritus faculty, staff, former staff, distinguished guests, former presidents, and members of the Board of Trustees. Not only to celebrate the commencement of each and every member of the class of 2013, but to mark as well the stepping forth of AUP into its second half-century. I am proud to have had with us in the processional 4 of AUP's former presidents. Daniel Sokolow, our 4th, Catherine Ingold, our 5th, Lee Huebner, our 8th, and still a loyal trustee today, and Michael Simpson, our 10th, whom I had the great pleasure of serving as faculty leader and curricular dean. Warm wishes have been sent by Damon Smith, our 3rd president, Bill Chipola and Andrea Leskis, former deans who also served as acting presidents, and Gerardo de la Paulera, our 11th president. Each has played his or her role in the relay race that is presidential succession. Here is one single example of that. Dan Sokolow did all the preparations to take us from college to university in 1988, but the actual date of the shift took place the following fall when under Catherine Ingold's tenure, we became the American University in Paris. 10 years later, on Michael Simpson's watch, we became what we are today, the American University of Paris, a BA/MA university, implemented even more fully under his successor, Gerardo de la Paulera. In different ways, each of you has prepared the fields for me to till. Our founder, Lloyd DeLameter, whom we lost in recent years, is represented today by his daughter, Clara. I hope you're on the stage, Clara. Would you stand? Clara is a sculptor and a member of the AUP faculty. She has made a gift to the university of a bronze bust of her father, which normally hangs outside the president's door, and it has been on display this weekend as nearly 500 alumni returned for Global Alumni Weekend. Our thoughts are very much with Lloyd DeLameter and AUP's co-founder, his wife Marie, today. When DeLameter lifted a glass at the college's first orientation to the inaugural class and symbolically to all classes to come, and that would be you, he was gesturing toward us 50 years later with a sense of purpose and belief, and we will lift our glasses gratefully to him back through the years at our own reception following today's ceremony. It is my great honor with my leadership team and faculty colleagues to take Dr. DeLameter's vision, that of transcending what he called narrow nationalism, forward into the university's second half-century. In our words today, on the website that will go live next month, we call it, with a slightly different emphasis, being at home in the world. I hope he would be proud today that we have more than 100 nationalities in the student body, that our entering class has brought 111 languages and dialects into the university over the past decade, that our alumni live and work in 141 countries around the globe, that we offer 20 majors, 37 minors, and 11 graduate programs, and an annually growing reputation for interdisciplinary faculty research and international academic convocation. As fervently as then, we aspire to offer the finest American education in Europe to students of all nationalities, cultures, languages, means, beliefs, and faiths. The American University of Paris graduates students every year who return to transform the communities, civil societies, and countries from which they came or new ones to which they've emigrated. Dr. DeLameter's dream still figures in the diverse democracy that he envisioned and we have become. While I'm on the subject of the 50th and the relay that a university history always is, I would like to point out something extraordinary about this particular graduation. Today, for the first time in our history, a woman is the senior-most ranking professor present. The mace is being held by Dr. Marjorie Sapphire, the first woman to be promoted to full professor at AUP, and thus our first woman marshal. The Board of Trustees is chaired by Judith Ogilvie, the first woman to chair our board and a member of AUP's second class. The university today is led by a woman, in case you hadn't noticed, and I am the second woman to do so, while Catherine Ingold, the first woman president of AUP, joins us today. And I am not finished. In addition, our 2 honorary degree recipients, Dr. Martha Nussbaum and the Honorable Louise Arbour, are extraordinary women leaders in their respective fields. Both graduation speakers voted by the student body, Alina Mealy and Dawn Booker, also women. Finally, at the board meetings this past week, the fraction tipped by one representative, and in the boardroom, and you all know what that means, the American University of Paris is now led by a majority of women. Okay, I hardly think that that's the end of men at AUP, because we work alongside and in deep partnership with all the men who study, work, participate in, and lead our community. But the student body of the university is currently 67% women, and leadership is a reflection of that. The 50th is a vintage year for women's leadership at AUP. I need to say in passing here that we're not talking about women breaking the glass ceiling or redressing historical imbalances via affirmative action. This is not business as usual. I believe that the 21st century is going to be all about women's leadership, or a form of leadership heretofore gendered female. Not because I believe that women are the naturally superior gender and that we have some kind of monopoly on kindness, nurturing behaviors, conflict resolution, and multitasking. It actually does the world no good to construct femininity as the idealized other half of masculinity. In fact, there are good historical reasons why certain kinds of leadership are called for at this moment in history, and why the 21st century needs them so badly. What if, as Hannah Rosen asks in a recent book, equality isn't the end point here? What if modern post-industrial society, indifferent to men's strength and size, is simply better suited to women or to men like Barack Obama, surrounded by impressive women himself, who for the most part don't conduct themselves like traditional men? The attributes that are most valuable today, social intelligence, open communication, the ability to listen, to incorporate opposing views, to build a coalition or a collective, to cooperate and negotiate, to wield language in the service of shared vision and inclusiveness, to marshal reason and intuition or heart in the service of decision-making, are not predominantly male, and in fact the opposite might be true. These soft power skills, often labeled feminine, are essential in the world we are inheriting, and as the gender of the economy shifts and increasingly collective agendas surface, women will be uniquely suited to step into the breach. But there will also be that moment fast upon us when the gender of a leader is not the first or the only thing we notice. Women leaders are still way too far in the minority, but that's changing daily. What we need so badly in a world ripped apart by a global financial crisis that will drag 50 million people below the poverty line before it's over, by wars on all too many fronts, by natural disasters occurring in terrifying concentration, and by an environment over which we have lost control, is the finest and most inspired, ethically informed, values-based leadership that women and men can muster working together. We will need leaders of both genders who manifest range and adaptability, who are gender bilingual, and who speak multiple languages besides. We will need leaders who can show fierceness and grace, authority and the capacity to lead from behind, negotiators, communicators, and articulators of shared value and common purpose. I call them people who can play on all 88 keys of the piano. Men and women of the class of 2013, this is a remarkable historical moment in which to come of age. The potential of your generation to reshape the contours of the world we live in, politically, economically, and environmentally, knows no bounds. National borders have fallen in Europe and are losing their edges elsewhere. Cultural, ethnic, religious, and ideological identities crisscross political boundaries and create conflicts, but also connect people via satellite and cell phones and the internet into imagined communities across the globe, across the earth. In a globalized world, our belongings are multiple, our allegiances mixed, and our identities more fluid than fixed. Indeed, none of us any longer will be the citizen of just one country, even if one or more of our citizenships are of the adopted sort. In such a world, leadership is going to be increasingly transnational and global. It will be collective, and it will be lived across the internet and social networking in a world of 24-hour simultaneous news. And it will be conducted in a language that your generation already speaks fluently, the language of technology. The revolt that spread across the Middle East during the Arab Spring, fueled in large measure by the desperation and anger of young people, was conducted via Twitter, amongst other sites, and it was retweeted in English to the West by one of our own graduates, a cultural translator himself. And you are in the audience today, Sultan Al-Qasimi. I was excited to see as well the role that women and girls have played in these revolutions, especially as writers and bloggers and witnesses and participants, and also to think about the roles they will play in these countries as change takes them over after the fundamentalists have failed, because fail they will. No fundamentalism has answers for a world that has changed so profoundly. I have hope when I see such young men and women as you, the class of 2013, working together for a better world, standing up amongst others for change, calling your peers into a vision of a world held in common by the people, for the people. You graduating today know that this is all absolutely bedrock to the mission of our university. For it is on campuses such as ours that we are going to be figuring out together what kind of leadership the 21st century is calling for. We are transcending traditionally male and female ways of articulating it and developing the supple leadership of young people who see themselves first and foremost as citizens of the world. In the crucible of language, cultures, nationalities, ideologies, and faiths that is AUP, we create the possibility for leadership of the best kind, both pragmatic and idealistic at once, founded on the creation of a we and directed toward global problem solving. And you, the graduates of the American University of Paris, are the best people we know to do this world work. You have become people who cross borders with ease, who uphold universal positions when necessary and right, and yet who honor local claims and traditions when that is appropriate. Most important, you have learned through your education to reconcile the differences between them when you can, and to live with and sort out the complexity that ensues when local traditions and universal values conflict, as they inevitably will. Before you go forth as our emissaries into a world that has need of you, it is my honor to present to you our 2 honorary degree recipients, 2 extraordinary women who embody the very values I have been articulating here. Dr. Martha Nussbaum speaks from the perspective of the Academy in the rich language of interdisciplinary research, while the Honorable Louise Arbour speaks from the perspective of the bench and the non-governmental organization in the equally rich language of implementation and change. Both are passionately concerned with the rule of law, the role of democratic institutions, and the critical importance of democratic participation for all. Both are attuned to global privilege, openly taking the part of the global underprivileged, and both abhor discrimination, domination, or exclusion in any shape or form. Both are principled, strong, forthright leaders whose rigor is tempered by compassion and loyalty to humanity itself. Both are feminists who champion the cause of women worldwide, particularly the right of women to education, to bodily integrity, to freedom from violence, and to the freedom to choose, indeed to choreograph lives of dignity and satisfaction. For this work and for the courage each of these women embody, they have received honorary doctorates from no fewer than 40 institutions each. We recognize in the problems that Dr. Nussbaum and the Honorable Louise Arbour have addressed in their work the central, social, economic, and political issues of our times. Let me proceed now to the laudations. Madam Chair, distinguished guests, faculty, students, parents, friends, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first candidate for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa. I am proud to present an honorary degree to a distinguished representative in the field of philosophy. Martha Nussbaum, may I ask you to come to the podium? You, Dr. Nussbaum, practice a kind of scholarship that has direct impact on the world, perhaps the only kind of scholarship that matters. As you put it yesterday in your address at AUP, ideas matter because people matter. America's preeminent moral philosopher, renowned commentator on human development and higher education, economic inequality, and women's rights, you have wielded philosophical argument, literature, law, and economic development theory in the service of human development. You, along with your colleague and friend Amartya Sen, have been the passionate defender of the capabilities approach that takes into account all the elements composing a meaningful life, the full register of ways in which human beings become the agents of their own lives. At the same time, you've had the courage to defend universalist perspectives on economic disparity and development. At AUP, we have been deeply inspired by your writing on higher education, notably in Cultivating Humanity and Not-for-Profit, Why Democracy Needs the Humanities. You have asserted that a liberal education should develop 3 essential capacities which are central to the mission of this university: critical examination of oneself and one's traditions, seeing oneself as a member of a heterogeneous nation and world, and most important, being able to recognize what it is like to walk in the shoes of a person different from oneself. Your most recent book, challenging colleges and universities to recenter their missions upon the production of critical, knowledgeable, and empathetic citizens, rather than on the making of those who are merely economically productive, inspires our 50-year mission to hold the liberal arts at the absolute center of our curricular vision. Your work refuses the false dichotomy between the ethical frames provided by the humanities and the pragmatism of politics and economics, holding out the hope that students such as ours, educated in multiple disciplines for global belonging and responsibility, can have powerful impact on the world. Thank you. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris, and with the recommendation of the faculty voting in assembly, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. As you accept this degree and hood, I welcome you to the American University of Paris community. And now, Dr. Nussbaum will address the graduating class.
Madam President, faculty, staff, members of the Board of Trustees, alumni, parents, friends, distinguished visitors of all kinds, and above all, graduates. On this very happy day, I want to begin with a moment in the history of philosophy that's been especially meaningful to me, expressing some of the ideals that have guided me as a philosopher and public intellectual. Seneca, who was a Roman Stoic philosopher in the 1st century of the Common Era, but also a political leader, is writing to a friend of his named Lucilius, who's been studying philosophy and pursuing a liberal education, but he's gotten distracted by the pursuit of wealth and fame and all those other things. And he says to Lucilius, "Do you want to know what philosophy offers to humanity? Practical guidance. One man is on the verge of death, another is rubbed down by poverty, another is tormented by riches, either someone else's or his own. These are ill-treated by men, those by the gods. Why then do you write me these frivolities? There's no time for playing around. You have been retained as a lawyer for unhappy humanity." So Seneca was not saying that nobody should pursue learning for its own sake, and I certainly don't want to say that either. But he was saying that in a world where so many people have urgent needs, there is a task to be performed, and it's a good thing to shoulder that practical commitment in some way. And I would say there are so many ways of doing that, through intellectual work, through the professions and through teaching, but also through public service of many different kinds, and through being a member of a family, raising children. So there are just all kinds of ways to pursue the service of humanity, and you are in a position to do that. But now the second thing that Seneca is saying, and this is what I particularly want to say to you, is that it makes a great difference what kind of education you've had as you go out into a world with these urgent human needs. He, in fact, was the person who invented our modern concept of liberal education. And what he says in another letter to this recalcitrant friend, Lucilius, is that there's one way of thinking about the term liberal studies, in Latin studia liberalia, and that is the traditional way, in which it's an education for the elite, for the free-born gentleman. But he says that's not the right way to understand that phrase. The right way is to think of it, first of all, as an education for everyone, and he definitely meant to include women, people of all classes and ranks, and people of all ethnic groups. He was, in fact, himself an ethnic minority. But it's also an education that liberates. It's an education that frees you to think for yourself, to be independent of authority and tradition, and to serve humanity in that more independent and critical way. President Schenck already mentioned the three elements of his concept, which is also mine, of liberal education. First of all, the capacity to think critically, informed by the study of theories of justice and the rigorous argumentation characteristic of philosophy. Second, the capacity to think of yourself as not just some local person and member of a local group, but as a citizen of an entire world, understanding something of the history and the complicated structure of that world. But then finally, without which nothing of this is real, is the capacity to imagine what it's like to be in the shoes of another person, and to appreciate what joys and sorrows, choices of many kinds mean for people of many different kinds. So you have been lucky to have this education at AUP, and I think it's a very precious thing that will inform your lives in many different ways as time goes on and lead you down many different paths, and I hope you'll follow those paths with passion and with joy and with a sense of humor too. So congratulations, and may you go out into the world and make it a little better than it is in some way through the liberal education that you're very lucky to have had. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, distinguished guests, faculty, students, parents, friends, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our second candidate for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa. I am proud to present an honorary degree to a distinguished representative of the field of international law, the Honorable Louise Arbour. Would you kindly come to the podium? You, Louise Arbour, judge, lawyer, chief prosecutor, high commissioner, non-governmental advocate, are one of the key international figures in the global advancement of peace and justice. With humility and courage, you have accepted some of the most difficult responsibilities of our times, such as your appointment by the Security Council of the United Nations to your much acclaimed role as chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Tribunals for former Yugoslavia and Rwanda. Passionate defender of civil liberties, fierce foe of discrimination and crimes against humanity, you subsequently served as a Canadian Supreme Court Justice, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, and today CEO of the International Crisis Group in Brussels, a worldwide organization devoted to conflict prevention, management, and resolution. You, Louise Arbour, have earned the hard way, taking on international assignments that admittedly stretched you far beyond your prior experience, your reputation for unimpeachable ethical judgment, for courage and tenacity, for strength and empathy, for respect for the law and defense of those institutions that secure civil society in peaceful democracies. You have been an unabashed critic of the U.S., particularly on issues such as that country's rejection of the International Criminal Court and its use of torture and the death penalty. Your advocacy work, tireless, fearless, and now global, is inspiring to all of us at the American University of Paris. Honoring your life's work and the shining example of global citizenship you embody, we salute you for showing how, in your own words, judicial bodies provide a forum for truth-telling. We also salute you, a truth-teller par excellence, for showing how due process for victims can liberate them from the need for revenge, how enforcement can bring with it reconciliation and a future after conflict. Thank you, Louise Arbour. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris, and with the recommendation of the faculty voting in assembly, I confer upon you the degree of Humane Letters, Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. As you accept this degree in hood, I welcome you to the American University of Paris community. Now it will be a pleasure to welcome you. And now Louise Arbour will address the graduating class.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Dear graduates, today is above all a celebration of an important landmark in your professional life, and I want first of all to take this opportunity to extend to all of you my most sincere congratulations. However, before you could be truly festive, you have to be subjected to one last effort by your elders, whom I suppose in some way I represent, to set you off on an inspired path for a productive career and a happy life. Now, I'm not sure I'm up to the task of delivering the inspirational speech that will ignite your commitment to save the world, but I'm happy to share with you a few insights gained through a surprisingly diversified and enriching working life. The early part of my career in Canada, to some extent, speaks of an era, not just of opening opportunities for women in the legal profession and in public life generally, but also an era of greater opportunities within the law for everyone. Apart, of course, from the liberalization of society and the dividends of the feminist movement of the 60s and 70s, the impetus for the kind of change reflected in my professional life is rooted, I believe, in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It launched a culture of rights anchored in ideals of equality and fairness, and it was, for many lawyers of my generation, both a promise and a call to service. The Canadian Charter came into force in 1982. More than anything else, it made Canadian courts relevant to the day-to-day lives of Canadians and to our public conversation as a nation like courts had never been before. That made it possible, some might say imperative, for people like me to be appointed to the courts, and just as importantly, it made it imaginable and actually attractive for people like me to want to become judges. I believe that the opportunities that presented themselves to me on the international scene were of the same nature. The prosecution of war criminals in the former Yugoslavia and in Rwanda in the mid-1990s was an unprecedented effort to integrate justice in the restoration of peace and in the rebuilding of societies brutalized not just by war, but by criminal atrocities during war. This was the most imaginative, novel, and promising initiative launched by the Security Council of the United Nations in the face of the world's apparent impotence to prevent these mass-scale atrocities from occurring in the first place. The grossest example of the bankruptcy of the international order came, of course, during the Second World War. From my own professional standpoint, it is painfully apparent that this was also facilitated by a legal system that had become complicit in its own erosion, with legal order supporting oppression, losing any form of moral compass. And yet, as you watch events unfold today in Syria, as we did in the former Yugoslavia and in Rwanda 20 years ago, you may ask whether we are doomed as a species to resort to war and savagery. As much as I remain committed to the law and to legal institutions, I have moved in my own work to the field of prevention, mitigation, and resolution of deadly conflict. After years in large formal institutions, the court, the United Nations, I now work in a field-based NGO, International Crisis Group, whose methodology rests on contextual, pragmatic, and yet principled efforts to resolve conflicts peacefully. This is a very tall order. We continue to live in a world of unconscionable inequities within states and between states. Fear, ignorance, hatred, and greed fuel aggression. But we also live with the tools and the know-how to intervene, and we are a generation that understands what happens if we don't. From one generation to the next, I believe we carry the simple obligation to leave the place in slightly better shape than we found it. And it's perfectly okay to have a wonderful time doing so. Despite the less than cheerful content of much of the work I do, I never miss an opportunity to laugh and enjoy the moment. And I remain committed to a few simple propositions that I invite you to reflect upon as you look to the challenges and opportunities ahead of you. And they are, first, that all people are born free and equal in rights and dignity, and that most of them have to spend the rest of their lives fighting to remain so. Second, that fundamental rights don't have to be earned, but the exercise of power does. And three, that we are only as safe and as free as everybody else is. I thank you very much, and I wish you to have a wonderful life.
Thank you, Ms. Aber. This is now the moment of awarding bachelor's and master's degrees to the class of 2013. Will the students who have completed all the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts please stand? President Schenck, Dean Gordon, Dr. Ogilvie, I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. They have successfully completed all requirements for the degree and have been approved by the faculty.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris, and upon the recommendation of the faculty, voting in assembly, I confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Arts, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining.
Please be seated. Will the students who have completed all the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Science please stand? President Schenck, Dean Gordon, Dr. Ogilvie, I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science. They have successfully completed all requirements for the degree and have been approved by the faculty.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris, and upon the recommendation of the faculty voting in assembly, I confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Science, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining.
Please be seated. May I now ask to stand the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science who will be completing their degree this summer. President Schenck, Dean Gordon, Dr. Ogilvie, I am pleased to present the candidates for the Bachelor of Art and Bachelor of Science who will be receiving their degrees this July. Please be seated. We now turn to the Master of Arts candidates. Will the students who have completed all the requirements for the degree of Master of Arts please stand? President Schenk, Dean Gordon, Professor Perry, Professor Doyle, Professor Gilbert, Professor Majidi, Professor Ranema, Dr. Ogilvy, I present the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts. They have successfully completed all the requirements for the degree and have been approved by the faculty.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris and upon the recommendation of the faculty voting in assembly, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining.
Please be seated. May I now ask to stand the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts who will be completing their degree this summer. That's what we call a thesis, eh? President Schenk, Dean Gordon, Professor Perry, Professor Doyle, Professor Gilbert, Professor Majidi, Professor Ranema, Dr. Ogilvy. I am pleased to present the candidates for the Master of Arts who will be receiving their degrees this July. Please be seated. Now I will read the names of the candidates of the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Master of Arts. As you proceed onto the stage to receive your diplomas, if you stand one row at a time, people seated behind you will be able to see the stage. Although I know that this is an exciting time for everybody, I would beg, to no avail, but I still beg every year, the audience to please refrain from applauding again until all the degrees have been awarded. Otherwise, the champagne will be flat by the time we're out of this theater. So seriously. It is a tradition at the American University of Paris to initiate graduates into the worldwide community of AUP alumni. Alumna Maria Hertz, class of 2000, and alumna Suzanne Span, class of 2000, will perform the honors this year by handing each of you a gift as you walk across the stage. And don't forget to stop for the photo. The candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. The candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Art History. Mina Abbasian. Cesar Abdelaziz Youssef. Nadine Aboulenin. Meline Ashapayan, cum laude, Departmental Honors in Global Communications. Christina Havlilat Yani. Nouf Nael Al-Sahif. Basmaef Al-Shakhti. Abdulaziz Al-Tuwah. Mariam Al-Fahad. Banan Mohammad Al-Jarba. Alanud Al-Madani. Ranim Rafat Al-Shaf. Sadim Rafat Al-Saaf. Tasnim Al-Shurugi. Sarah Al-Sokhni, Departmental Honors in International Business Administration. Aubrey Reeves. Naz Ali. Tiani Ellen Lightfoot. Afonso Cole Almeida. Abdul Mohsen Abdul Razak Al Sudairi. Sherwin Amini. Gabriel Arevalo Botero. Chanel Arif. Rebecca Atoll. Pierre-Emmanuel Bach, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in International Economics. Olivia Baez, magna cum laude, Departmental Honors in Comparative Literature. Mira Zohar Barnoum, magna cum laude, Departmental Honors in Film Studies. Magda Boccaccini. Patricia Bochner-Matz. Elena Sarah Bordarier. Larissa Borges. Gabriela Bueno. Emmeline Anne Oliniak Butler. Aisha May Kamara. Carolina Cavalli. Margaret Elizabeth Sanders. Enid Marie Schoffel, cum laude, Departmental Honors in International Business Administration. Ella Phoebe Cooper, cum laude, Departmental Honors in Global Communications. Lucille Claire Culver, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in Comparative Literature. JC de la Cruz. Maria Lourdes de la Sus. Nina Claude Anne de Selding. Zina Lorraine Dippe. Casey Devani. Chloe Brenton Dunderdale. Angelina Ebeling, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in International Business Administration and in International Economics. Tamara El Tanani. Marianne Amin Femi. Elisa Basima Freya. Laura Fries. Benedetta Gambino. Leonard Glasman. Laila Mohamed Halawa. Craig Alexander Hill. Bernard Cheng Hoare. Anna Elizabeth Hudson. Bernadette Giselle Hudson, Departmental Honors in International Business Administration. Stacy Marie Gelassi. Jamila Dominga Semedo Jr. Tornik Kiburia. Tala Khadam. Kristina Dimitrova Kovacheva. Nastasia Kunchinska. Tokshan Kumengbayeva, cum laude. Maria Melanie Lacayo. Marisa Melania Lacayo, Departmental Honor in Art History. Sorry, man. Hannah Elizabeth La Sala. Dong Jim Lee. Frederick Ford Leland, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in Global Communications. Vitaly Lensky. Valerie Kui Cheng Lim. Zoe Marduel Luckard. Larkin Magner. Chloe Christina Manas. Venezia Martine. Elena Mavlyutova. Patrick McDermott. Elena Yashio Mealy. Elizabeth K. Melton, summa cum laude, Departmental Honors in Art History. Madison Mentz. Christiana Adeze Tony Meribe. Rachel Eleanor Morrow. Siobhan Maria Muldoon. Shirin Mund. Mikhail Nataf. Arlene Nesralla. Rachel M. Nielsen. Joshua Edward Norman, cum laude, Departmental Honors in Comparative Literature. Fazil Mete Okter. Lorraine Emily Ong. Killian Thomas Odelide, magna cum laude, Departmental Honors in Global Communications. Alexandre Michel Boissier Otto, magna cum laude. Ines Sid Joyce Mary Oyono, magna cum laude, honors in philosophy, politics, and economics. Ifunaniana Shukwu Ozobia. Alikan Oksoy. Nino Papiashvili. Matteo Pedrioli, magna cum laude, Departmental Honors in International Business Administration. Christophe Pilesh, cum laude, Departmental Honors in International Business Administration. Alicia Pestalozzi, cum laude. Salome Petriashvili. Nicholas Graham Platt. Isabel Prinov, magna cum laude. Elisa May Quejano. Canel Raduf. Chloe Montana Rash, magna cum laude, Departmental Honors in Film Studies. Francisco Apolinar Restituyo Vasallo. Madison Chandler Riley, magna cum laude, Departmental Honors in History. Pauline Rodin. Roxana Ruth Rosas Bonilla. Rimka Sandhu. Suzanne Michelle Sardi. Katarina Schmidt. Shanice Shota. Genevieve Shea. Luke Joseph Shepard. Salome Silagazzi. Sinan Sipahilaire. Lauren Margot Allison Subiron. Lavinia Sandra Stenescu. Sabrina Justin Stedman. Christina Marie Sutton, cum laude. Christina Chiliet. Dede Zinabu Tunkara. Maria Georgieva Tucheva. Elizabeth Delphine Turner. Ricardo Luciano Louis Ugoccioni. Juliana Uribe Londoño, magna cum laude, Departmental Honors in Global Communications. Samira Nandi Marquez Veracruz Pinto. Jennifer Brittany Victor, cum laude. Lara Vidal de la Peña. August Henry Vasmuth. Stella Noni Wetherall. Grace Ann Wise. Chelsea Nicole White. Henry Frederick Winter, Departmental Honors in International Business Administration. Jeremy Roy Wolf, Departmental Honors in Film Studies. Amelia Charlotte Wrighton. Clémence Wurtz. Juliana Yanguas. Evgenia Zabolot Nyanya, cum laude, departmental honors in global communications and in international economics. Ashken Zakarian, magna cum laude. Marwana Ashraf Zaki, Bachelor of Science. Anastasia Akhvelida Diani. Said Erdinch Ali. Yuri Sergeyevich Belanov. Thomas Benetro. Mohamed Bourgi, magna cum laude, departmental honors in international economics. Sophie Dolores Brindejean, cum laude, departmental honors in international business administration. Alban Demiraj, magna cum laude, departmental honors in computer science. Stéphanie Lucette Gali. Veronica Garla Gomez. Simon E. Caffey. Brian Patrick Kennedy, departmental honors in computer science. Jessica Elizabeth Lynch, cum laude, departmental honors in international business administration. Kristen Elizabeth Meehan. Ruxandra Andrea Moldoveanu. Moritz Florian Polman, cum laude, departmental honors in international business administration. Aisamal Sadbayeva. Lara van der Linden, cum laude, departmental honors in international business administration. Master of Arts in Cultural Sustainable Business Management. Easy. Stephanie Carmen Burgos. Jali Satarin. Diana Kirillova Vasileva. Master of Arts in Cultural Translation. Ryan Thomas Hood. Catherine Eva Keneb. Eileen Elizabeth Lenken. Ryan Michael McCarthy. Catherine Murray Current. Claudia Sofia Quiñones Villa. Marion Tricoire. Master of Arts in Global Communications. Dawn Simone Booker. Lorraine Kapova. Golfem Emin Demire. Miguel Angel Guerra Gomez. Caroline Marin. Hais Najjar. Katerina Nissim. Frank Bauer O'Hale. Morgan Samuel Profer. Umaya Sheikh Al-Shabaab. Elizabeth Tiwalayo Inumindum Taiwo. Master of Arts, Global Communication, Visual and Culture track. Rebecca Keramani. Master of Arts, Global Communication, Fashion track. Zeneb Imichi Al-Hassan. Genevieve Murray Hartman. Daisy Caitlin Knight. Master of Arts in Global Communication and Civil Society. Robert Henry Barnes. Master of Arts in International Affairs. Noor Nasser Al-Belushi. Lucia Bourgeois. Kathleen Barbara Bashols. Amy Nicole Dean. Christy Joyce Dumpet, Patricia Erin Haynes, Karine Annette Johnson, Elodie Kavarani, Elise Michelle Lowe, Kristen McGuinness, Melissa Ann Meller, Bhavna Mukundan, Anne Helen Nordal, Stephanie Evelyn Osborne, Miriam Colette Saller, Maximilian Schiefer, Eileen Bailey Landon Weinstein, Master of Arts in International Affairs, Conflict Resolution, and Civil Society Development, Jill Celine Arringdale, Amélie Domory, Talia Lamping, Kelsey Powell Larson, Alexander McEnany, Victoria Lynn McKittrick, Master of Arts in Public Policy and International Law, Sofia Alexievna Chertikina, Sheila Faber, Maura Andres Farrell, Darcy Ann Mailbeck, Master of Arts in Public Policy and International Affairs, Mehmet Ali Oran, Master of Arts in Middle East and Islamic Studies, Dima Al-Kahan, Lisa Suzanne Coe, Jessica Ann Pruitt, Master of Arts in Middle East Studies with Language, Stephanie Jamal Halim. And finally, Master of Arts in Islamic Studies with Language, Tommaso Virgili. Madam Chair, Madam President, I'm happy to tell you that this concludes the conferral of the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Master of Arts, Master of Public Administration degrees. You can be seated. Now, for those of you who wondered what this tassel, whether it was just to make you look weird on the photo or it had a purpose, let's try to do that together, okay? Bear with me. So, to indicate your status, now as university graduates, please shift the tassel of your hat. Now, for the bachelors, from right to left. And for the masters, from left to right. Congratulations for knowing your right and your left. It is now my pleasure to introduce the graduating class speakers, those that you elected. Starting with the undergraduate speaker, who is also a recent graduate in literary studies and the creative arts, I now call on Alina Mealy.
Oopsies. Hello, everybody, and good day to my fellow graduates. Really, it's a good day to be alive and in this moment. And don't get me wrong, usually when people wear robes, it's because they've let themselves go, but, that's in my case at least. But in our case, we're being set free. I stand here today before our futures commence to say what's absolutely paramount. It's this moment. This very moment, much like many of the dynamic and immense moments that have passed, shall forever be ingrained in our personal stories. We somehow managed to arrive at this moment, and I'm sure we all wonder how. And we mark it as the beginning of a new chapter. This is not to say we close our books here in Paris. As I'm sure you have all heard or felt, as an AUP student, it's difficult not to be at home in the world. We found each other based on the need to explore new landscapes with new eyes, and this connection grants us the ability to move forward and in any direction the world has to offer. At 16, I left my high school to see what the world could shape me as. I moved to the south of Italy, where there were more goats crossing the streets than pedestrians, and my alarm clock was the rooster that just happened to live below my window. Yet, it was here that I was thrust into the belly of the whale and at the mercy of a beautiful Italian family and exposed to a language I briefly knew due to my love of pizza and pasta. Yet, it was a moment where I emerged from the small bubble I had found comfort in and was exposed to an absolute truth. In a moment, one can find a new calling and unsurfaced passions in a place undiscovered. Life is composed of moments where direction can be changed or perspective can be altered, and as AUP graduates, we understand what it takes to undergo change and gracefully. Sure, there are bumps and moments of hysteria, such as finals, whether we spend it questioning the purpose of life in the middle of the night at the library, or if having that extra glass of wine is really a good idea on a Monday night. It's only natural that we question our actions. We dance between taking off for the weekend or taking on the city, but in these moments, we are constantly reminded that we'll always have Paris. I transferred to AUP after 2 years of daydreaming my own escape and completing community college. I arrived with my textbook French and an eagerness to consume every aspect of this city, which of course meant that I spent my first semester here relearning proper Parisian French and coming across my own misfortunes, as I'm sure each of you have experienced in your own way. For example, being a California native myself, I learned how to not complain too much about the weather. I still complain because it's May and the sun should always be shining, in my opinion. But let's just say I've made some progress. I spent a great deal of time smiling and nodding and ordering meals I never planned to order. I dealt with French doctors who thought I was being way too overdramatic about the flu, which I always was. I explored the twisted streets of Paris, where the lights and shenanigans only seem to confuse you more at night. I learned how to manage transportation, whether I was subjected to being a sardine among the masses on the metro, we've all been there, or making a 5-minute best friend with a cab driver at 2 in the morning, which we've also all been there. Even walking around the city is a moment in itself. And I originally debated if I wanted to really say this, but I sincerely can't shake the feeling that there is nothing like dog poop to remind you that you're in Paris. Moments, again, that I can say have molded me into a person who can feel alive and a part of this city. When I wasn't learning life lessons, I was receiving a focused education in literary studies and creative arts. With the smaller classes, I was given personal attention on my work and received motivation from a faculty of international teachers that I can only be grateful to have had as a student. I want everyone to look around and remember this feeling of glory because we somehow managed to go beyond the average requirement for an education and have been granted several static moments that have brought us here today. My fellow graduates, I ask you, which moment changed you? Which moment opened your eyes? And what makes you grateful? As we will always be able to look back at these and truly see how we accomplished so much today. I remind you to love your family because their love is what brought you here as well. But then I ask that you look around and take in all that you can as you have before and recognize the friendships that you've made at AUP as well, as they are tied with iron, and that is something that shall never change as we go off and to find our new frontiers. Today is one of those majestic moments that mark our path into adulthood. To those of you that fear the unknown, I'd like to say that you're not alone, and that in that, remember that we're young, and that mistakes assure us that there's always room for growth. So stumble onto the road untaken and see what new discoveries can be made. Above all, do not rush your search for happiness. It's unnecessary to reach for passivity or mediocrity after today, and if nothing else, fail to it. Part of finding the good in a moment is understanding the power found within it and being able to accept that it doesn't last forever. Think of it like this. If it's painful, then don't worry because it'll be all over soon. If it's enjoyable, then actively cherish it because it will have an expiration date. Einstein said, everything you can imagine is real. So to those of you with a set future and secure plan, I'd like to say, first of all, well done. Really awesome, that's great. And secondly, to always take things one step at a time. Allow yourself room for change, as it will be the engine that allows you to grow into what you do. Today, I simply just wanted to remind you all the importance of this moment. It shall remind us the fragile difference between knowing what should be done and following the heart. This moment shall be a welcome change for all of us that sit here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. It is now my pleasure to introduce the graduate speaker, who is a recent graduate in global communication. I now call on Don Booker.
Good morning, President Schenck, honored guests, fellow classmates, alumni, faculty, mentors, parents, and friends. First, I would like to say how honored I am to be here with all of you today and to represent the 2013 graduate class as we celebrate the 50th commencement ceremony of the American University of Paris. I offer a special thanks to the alumni who serve as role models and as examples of what this experience could one day mean for us. Thank you for your presence and for your input. A person is a product of their dreams. So make sure to dream great dreams and then live your dreams. Maya Angelou. In the early 1960s, Dr. Lloyd Delameter's great dream was to start a university in Europe that provided a learning environment that encouraged both cultural exchange and global understanding for American students. Delameter and AUP's founders pursued this dream despite fiscal obstacles and the possibility of being the first school of its kind in Europe. He believed in his dream completely and risked personal resources to make his vision a reality. Because of Dr. Delameter and her founding board of AUP invested in their great dream, students from all over the world can engage in an international academic experience and learn how to effectively connect to a global workforce. Living in Paris and pursuing a master's degree has always been a part of my big plan. This has been my great dream. It has taken me 20 years to get here, and I know that seems odd to some of my classmates who were wise enough and fearless enough to finish their undergraduate degrees and then within a few short years decide to spend a year or more living and studying in Paris. I admire you for knowing exactly what you want and for your ability to articulate what you want clearly and with passion. I find it amazing that you have had the courage to leave family, friends, and jobs to further your education in Paris's global classroom. For this, you should take great pride. However, that is not my journey. My path has been a long one, with plenty of detours and twists and turns filled with great and rewarding experiences. My journey to Paris began when I was 40-something, and at the urging of my daughter Simone, I decided it was finally time to pursue my great dream, to step away from my comfort zone and to move to Paris. And like many of you, I expected Paris to be awesome and amazing. And I just knew that the French people would embrace me for my command of the 6 French words that I could speak when I arrived. At the same time, I expected to be so much older than my classmates that I wouldn't have anything in common with them. And quite frankly, I was concerned that I would not be in a position to learn from my peers. And it didn't help that in my first advising meeting, Professor Doyle pointed out, "Dawn, I believe you're the oldest student here." I was crushed because to hear the words made it real. Even though I was exactly right about the expected age difference between my classmates, nearly every other component of my dream of Paris has exploded and exploded beautifully. To my surprise, neither my classmates or professors, including Professor Doyle, made my age an issue ever again. Conversely, you invited me to parties, supported me in class, and encouraged me to share my experiences, which you seem to both admire and appreciate. What I did not expect was to learn so much from you. I am in awe of your high expectations for your education, for your careers, and for the world around you. As we've gotten to know one another, it is clear that we are more alike than we are different. So many of us are here because of similar dreams or aspirations, not just to pursue a graduate degree, but based on the desire to see and to serve the world. By sharing this transformative experience, we have created a community that spans the globe. We have forged lifelong friendships, but not only have we made friends, we will have access to a network of globally like-minded professionals. And additionally, during our studies, we have been exposed to academics and leaders in sustainability, culture, policy, communications, and a host of other disciplines. You are well on your way to greatness. But in the meantime, I encourage you to enjoy your journey. I challenge you to embrace your path with gratitude and humility, knowing that every twist and turn and every unexpected detour is leading you to the people and the places where you can do the most good and learn the most meaningful lessons. I have every confidence that each one of us will find ourselves exactly where we should be, living exactly the dream that we dreamed for our lives, only bigger. So continue to have the courage to follow your dreams your great dreams wherever they take you, whether that's right here in Paris, or in Bosnia, or Cuba, or Zambia, or Syria, or Washington, D.C., Cape Town, or New York City. Whether you decide to work for an NGO or you strive to be a CEO, do what you do with integrity and with the confidence that your effort and contributions will change lives and have a mark on history. Whether you help to advance a country that is already moving forward, or you choose to take your talents to a part of the world that has been forgotten by progress, you are needed and your work will matter. I wish blessings to all that I have encountered along this beautiful journey. May all of your dreams continue to come true. Congratulations.
Thank you, Don. Congratulations to you guys. You heard how proud we are and how demanding we will be in terms of what you become. But today, forget about it. Tomorrow is tomorrow. Tomorrow is another day. Today, have a blast. Enjoy the day in beautiful Paris. Mind your steps. But otherwise, enjoy beautiful Paris with your families and really, really enjoy this special day. It is now time to close this ceremony, which I hope you enjoyed as much as we did. I call upon Sven von Morik, the 2013-2014 Undergraduate Student Government President, to return the mace to Professor Sapphire. Now I would like to ask our faculty marshal to lead the recessional, beginning with the platform party, followed by the faculty and the trustees. The graduates will be exiting along the aisle on their right. I ask our guests to remain seated until the end of the recessional, at which time we invite you to join in a reception honoring our graduates in the lobby of the theater at different levels. Refreshments are located everywhere, almost, namely at the level of the first balcony, in the grand foyer, the orchestra on both sides, and down in the entrance hall. As you exit, this includes the graduating students. Please disperse quickly so as not to block egress from the auditorium. If you move quickly away from the exit doors, everyone will be able to circulate in the lobby areas and reach the bars so that they can enjoy the reception. We would also like to ask you, or your assistants rather, in maintaining the ambiance of this lovely theater and not to go outside of the building with glasses. Finally, a word of thanks to the theater staff. Mesdames et messieurs du Châtelet, encore un grand merci pour une nouvelle année. Une autre cérémonie de remise des diplômes réussie et à l'année prochaine. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.